All right. So, what I want to talk about today are blocks. And blocks are prefabricated um, images that we use. Um, you can see right here, here's some little blocks. These are shadow marks for windows. Here is a window crank and a window lock for a double or single hung window. And as I go down, I don't want to say that these are prefabricated from the standpoint that I just found them somewhere, although you can find them online. I drew myself every one of these. So I think I started the process with a fairly prefabricated block like this. And this would have been like somewhere back in college. Um, and I've modified it over time. And then in spring remote learning, um, by the fact that I was given some more time to keep plugging away at things, I just went ahead and kept developing this and developing this, which was hours upon hours. So I've divided windows up into 2 foot windows. So these are all 2 foot in height. And those would never be an operable window. You wouldn't have an operable. So these are all fixed. I need to still do some reorganizing. Transom windows, which are all fixed. So these could go above a door. They could go in a wall anywhere. Um, Skylights, I had kind of some fun with these. So like what you would see from an elevation view from two sides. But the thing with a skylight, as far as a template, you usually have to kind of draw them in a case by case, depending on the size of the skylight, but particularly based on the pitch of the roof. So that's that. And then you got a variety of front doors and sliding doors. The easy thing to do is just, in a lot of cases, is just mirror these. You can see these all have muttons or the grids in these doors right here. And you could really simply just go ahead and delete those out. Make a copy, delete it out. You have a garage door. I have a feeling that everyone is going to be using that garage door now, but it's a carriage door style. And then you've got some architectural details here, which these would be called gable vents. You have a couple different sizes. As I go along, this is not always the size that works. And so I modify that. And the best way to do that also, from a realism standpoint, go to Menards or go to Home Depot or go to some kind of building supply and see what sizes these come in and adapt them realistically. And then if you know what a trellis is, it's a fairly functionless thing, but it adds some architectural detail. You can grow vines and you can put them over doors or windows. A porch column, this is a lattice type of trellis, so you could have vines growing on that. A gable bracket, those types of things. And then the ones that you're used to dealing with that you typically start out with picking, a queen size bed. That's kind of essential. Some different dressers, bedside tables, kitchen sinks and fixtures. These two refrigerators are exactly the same, but I just indicated the door opening on different sides. And then 2 different dishwasher styles. These are going to basically go in every house: washer, dryer, water heater, air handler is the actual word for a furnace, and then a variety of different tubs, as well as some cars and vehicles, and then some different landscape type pieces. And then even these like paver stones, I drew them and just modified them in a case by case. You've got a fairly standard rail there, so that's usable, and you can continue that as needed. And then typical closet doors and of different types. So those are blocks, and I think most people have a pretty easy time in doing in dealing with these and adapting them. But I'm going to go over here to my file, okay? And I've started placing blocks in already. Now, my recommendation is always make copies. When I used to have to do hand drawing, like in college, when I first learned this, amazingly enough, you would draw these blocks in what was called rendering, before rendering was a 3D operation. And you would make a series of copies down the way. Now we can, I don't have to, if I screw something up in one, I can just go right to my copy. So I, right off the bat, would make 3, 4, or 5 copies. Like in this case, I chose a certain window style and I chose a certain door style, and they do go together, but this window has a clear sash on the bottom instead of grids. And I don't know if I'm certain that that looks right. But you always want to have one of these, what we would call a skeleton elevation. And the reason for that, when we dimension things, a lot of times we don't want all of that, nonsense in the drawing. We would just want to know that from center of that window to center of that window is 5'2". So you're always going to keep this one. You never want to replace this entirely. But that's something to keep in mind. So whenever you're going to make a change, make your change in a copied set. And again, like I said, the advantage of copying is that you can go back and and change around things about the blocks and about how you style them and everything else. Okay. The 3-inch aspect of this goes to the size, the inside rectangle or box or whatever you want to call it of a door or window. That is the actual size. When we drew those, we drew those to specific sizes. That's a 2.5 foot by 5 foot window, 2.5 foot by 5 foot window. That's a 5 foot wide 6'8" door. This is, I think, a 2x3 window. Okay. And as you can see, all the tops of the windows line up. Okay. So don't get confused and try to stick the blocks on this outer frame. This frame, the reason I use 3 inches is, if you remember, between any door, okay, and an adjacent wall. So this double white line is an adjacent wall. If I were to have my door sitting there, for instance, there's not enough space because we have to always maintain that 3 inches. So the 3-inch, so even this would be fine if that door existed there. But that's just a check and balance to make sure that you're following that rule along the way. Okay. And then so the next thing you're going to want to do, and there's 2 different methods of placing blocks. So in this video, I'm just going to it's because we're kind of getting long now. So I'm just going to call this video kind of the how-to from the use of blocks. Okay. And I guess what I'll do on this one is go over to my blocks file. And whenever I want to copy something, so like I would have to go and find a certain window style that I might want to use. If you don't understand what a certain type of window is, like you can see this one has a crank right here. This is called a casement window. And I have that same window style like this, and this is called a double hung window. So one thing that you probably are going to want to do is, go ahead and look at casement. If you don't know what a casement window looks like, just do an image search. Say, why is that little crank there? There we go. And so there's like a kind of a view of what a casement window looks like. So in this case, the whole sash is the sash is the part with the glass in it. It's one piece, and we crank it open and closed, versus a double hung window. If you look at an image of a double hung window, this is like a pretty traditional thing. Double hung simply means that the top sash can move up and down as well as the bottom sash. It used to be that all windows were single hung, which meant that only the bottom sash could move. And technology has allowed us to create this kind of window, which is cool because you can open the bottom a crack and then open the top a crack. And remember, cold air comes in the bottom and hot air goes at the top, so you can actually get circulation with those. So again, if you don't know what a trellis is, right? Trellis, trellis over door. Google image it. What is a trellis over a door? Oh, there's one right there. Okay, that's neat, right? So, what is a gable bracket? These types of simple image searches, and they're showing you some different varieties right here. So when you go to put these blocks in, you want to you're stylizing the house, and you're making a huge, aside from the roof, like we said, the biggest thing that makes the outside of a house look like it looks is the roof elevation, or and then the second thing is what types of features are you putting in. So we'll call that done, and then I'll come back in the next video and we'll go through the process of the copying from the blocks file and bringing it over to your drawing file for whatever architectural plan you're on, and then two different methods of placing these blocks, one that I like and one I guess they both work. So